Big news for the Miami Hurricanes on signing day. Cornerback Damari Brown picks the Hurricanes over Alabama, four-star prospect, 6'1", number three cornerback in the country, according to the 24/7 Sports composite rankings.
Yeah, Damari Brown, this is a huge addition for Miami. A big win over the Crimson Tide, who have had a lot of success at Plantation American Heritage. Patrick Surtain Jr., Earl Little Jr. last cycle. Nick Saban sat in the Browns' living room along with Travaris Robinson, who was on Miami's staff last year and was trying to recruit Damari Brown to Coral Gables for the Hurricanes, a little bit over a year ago. For Mario Cristobal, again, I think this is just proof that he can go toe-to-toe with the Giants and come out on top. I mean, Damari Brown was a kind of a must-get cornerback target for these guys since they arrived in Coral Gables. This was a long recruitment, multiple trips to Coral Gables, whether that be in the summer, unofficial visits, took in 3 losses at Hard Rock Stadium. So I think, really thought long and hard about this decision. Took an official visit for that Florida State weekend. Went to go see Florida State, kind of did his due diligence. It came down to the Crimson Tide and the Hurricanes. And Miami has some momentum on the trail. And then we're eventually able to land his signature live on national television. So monumental win for the program, considering where he's coming from and who Miami was going up against.
Gabby, you mentioned must get for this coaching staff. That's what stands out to me because this coaching staff wanted to get bigger at all positions across the board. Damari addresses that. He's a big corner that you like that when you watch him play. His size clearly stands out. And they pair him with his older brother, Devontae Brown. So they're going to play together, both two big corners. Miami has to get better at the cornerback spot. They allowed too many big plays this past season. They have 2 guys moving on, at least at this point, with Tyreek Stevenson going off to the NFL and also DJ Ivey graduating. So they've got holes in the secondary, a secondary that needs to be a little bit better than it showed last year. And getting Damari in here with his size, playing at that high level, as you mentioned, at American Heritage, I think it's certainly a good thing. And again, Miami is addressing needs. They're finding guys with a skill set that they like and the size. And certainly you like what Damari has right now moving forward, with his skill set.
Yeah, you mentioned big physical cornerback. You have to be excited about the coverage abilities. I think he really blossomed as a senior. I think there was maybe some questions going into his senior year in terms of just like, is he a safety? Is he a corner? Can he really cover? Can he really run? And I think he answered every single question there was about him over the course of his senior year. He's physical. He's a playmaker. He can make plays on the ball. Had a really, really strong showing against the 2024 5-star Jeremiah Smith against in that Chaminade game with tons of college coaches on the sidelines. And you mentioned, Chris, pairing him with his older brother is really exciting. And, I think that's a great way to keep both of them happy. 2 big physical corners on the taller side. And then his teammate, Mark Fletcher. I mean, what a win for Miami at Plantation American Heritage, getting 2 of the 3 top prospects at that premier Broward County program.
Miami lands an intriguing, athletic 4-star cornerback, Robert Stafford, out of O'Galley High School in Melbourne, Florida. Had a chance to watch him at practice earlier this year, but there's a lot to like about him. He makes plays, and he's certainly athletic. You can see it anytime you watch him play.
Yeah, you turn on the tape, you watch Robert Stafford making plays in all 3 phases, whether that be at cornerback, whether that be at receiver, and definitely in the return game. He's a high-level athlete. I mean, I think, again, just a high-upside kid. Was really happy that Miami was able to make a move over the summer. It felt like at one point Oregon had an in. It seemed like Arkansas was definitely making a move. I think Georgia was in there for some time, Kentucky as well. I mean, this is a kid that definitely could have left, the Sunshine State, gone off somewhere else. And we're hearing about him in 2-3 years as, a premier player in that conference. I mean, I think he has that level of talent. So Miami was able to get him down for an official visit over the summer, and that's really what all it took to kind of lock him in. And, I love me some Robert Stafford, man. I think that once he kind of, he makes the full transition to cornerback, locks in, and, just continues to kind of refine all of those things, I think he's someone that's going to – I view him as a potential starter for Miami down the line.
And one of the things that you're speaking about in terms of making that transition completely is just the way he it looks like he takes to coaching. You know, when I was at practice, the coaches were on him and teaching him different technique things all the time. And he just definitely took it in. And I think that's going to be big at the next level, obviously. Take to coaching, continue to work on your craft, because there's a lot to like about Stafford. Again, athletically, it's there. He also makes plays at cornerback too. It's not just one of these guys that's just this raw prospect. He's a guy that makes plays. He gets interceptions. I like his ball skills. A guy, as you mentioned, played wide receiver, and he still does, but he tends to take that one-on-one type matchups over to the defensive side of the ball, and he's trying to catch the ball as a cornerback, and you'd like to see that. Guy's trying to come down with the ball there and make plays, and when he gets the ball in his hands, he has a chance to score, as we saw during his senior year.
Yeah, and I think you just look at the verified athleticism. I mean, posted a blazing 40-yard dash time at an invite-only camp in the spring of 2022. Played basketball, runs track, does all the things, and you hear so much about how important those multi-sport background things translate and how much that helps at the next level. It seems like Robert Stafford really, again, you're kind of going down the list of what you're looking for, and Robert Stafford just kind of really just he has all the things you're looking for in terms of being a high-level cornerback. So he's going to be in good hands in Coral Gables, and I know Mario Cristobal and company are excited to get a hold of him.
Antoine Jackson, a 4-star defensive back out of Dillard High School, made the decision to fast forward his college career, reclassify, and he's in this class for the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, Chris, originally a class of 2024 prospect, made the move to the class of 2023 just due to, his academic situation. He was able to expedite that process. It's not because he's older, really just wanted to get into the college system, and he believes that he can come into Miami and eventually compete for a job. And really it's about getting into that strength and conditioning department and getting bigger and faster and stronger and all those things. Just 16 years old, so really still a pup. He was considered, one of the top players in the class of 2024 before making the move. And I think that that's still the appropriate timeline for him. And just because he is going to be at Miami a year earlier doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to be on the field a year earlier. I think the plan is to, bring him along. Obviously, there are a lot of people in Coral Gables extremely high on his skill set. I think they're going to start him off as a cornerback. I think that there's some belief that he could end up playing safety for him, but regardless, definitely a high-level talent, one of the best defensive backs in South Florida. And I think that, once he kind of comes of age where he turns 17, gets closer to that 18-year-old mark, he's going to have, by the time he's 18, he's going to be in college, 2 full seasons. I mean, I think that this is a kid that is, once he gets to that point where he's physically and mentally ready to be a part of this Miami Hurricanes football team in terms of being a contributor, he can potentially be, we could be looking back to this moment and him reclassifying and thinking about how Miami was able to dodge Georgia, who he was once committed to before he flipped to Miami in the summer, but then how they were able to dodge Alabama and Florida and Ohio State and all these other schools who might have eventually come after him as a class of 2024 prospect by getting him in school a year earlier.
What stands out to me in watching him, in addition to that unique backstory with him and his maturity to do what he wants to do right now at this age, is his cover ability, his cover skills. He's got good speed, good strength there for a cornerback. He's guarded a lot of top guys in South Florida. He has good experience doing that. And again, I think he's got a bright future. But even right now, just good speed and good cover ability, and you like that in a cornerback, and you can never have enough good cornerbacks. And to be able to get Jackson, who, as you mentioned, could move to safety if they need him to, but if he develops like that, but certainly a guy that can cover, and certainly one to like in this recruiting class.
Yeah, I'm watching him at Legends Camp over the summer. I mean, we walked away from that experience feeling like Antoine Jackson was probably the best cornerback there. I thought he was physical. Again, you see his stature, 6 foot. He's 6 foot, 170 pounds, could be maybe a little bit bigger by now. But he has all those things. I mean, he does have those natural cover skills. He can run with guys. He's not a cornerback because he can't make plays. Like, he's a guy that flipped over to the wide receiver position here during his senior year at Dillard, and started playing some wide receiver and definitely made some plays happen in important games down the stretch. So this is a guy that is, just a football player. And again, Miami, down the line, kind of projecting to the future, are really excited about what they have with him.
Miami lands 6'3" safety Kaleb Spencer out of Virginia. At one point, it looked like he was headed to Oklahoma, but the Hurricanes land Spencer.
Yeah, this was one of those weird recruitments where he randomly committed to Miami, flip from that Oklahoma commitment. Miami got him on, to Hard Rock Stadium for a game very quietly. He was one of those, one of multiple secret visitors, if you want to call him that way, over the course of the fall. Miami had been working on that. Jamal Dye, the defensive backs coach, secondaries coach, has a lot of ties to the state of Virginia, having spent time with the Mountaineers and, just really in that area. So he was able to get this one done. And again, you talk about the size, 6'3", 210, 215 pounds. And, you turn on the tape and he's someone, again, that's a willing participant, is looking for contact. He actually came down to South Florida this fall, played against Stranahan, where Hakeem Williams, the 5-star wide receiver, plays, and he put on a clinic. I mean, 24/7 Sports national analyst Andrew Ivins kind of threw an Isaiah Simmons comp at Kaleb Spencer coming off of that game. That was mostly because he was going to go play for Brent Venables and the Sooners, of course. But he is that type of player where he's listed as a safety, could probably play some linebacker, maybe even some nickel. And, I think he seems like a defender that can play at all levels of a defense and be impactful, and especially in the run game, all those things. And again, a guy that's willing to strike. And I think that's a really, really big deal in terms of what Miami's trying to make this defense look like.
And having that versatility, as you mentioned, can certainly help a defense because you can move guys around. It's all about getting the top 11 guys on the field or some matchup stuff depending on what the other teams are trying to do. So having someone like Spencer to be able to plug in there, if you can get to that level where the coaches trust him, but a guy that can bring different things to the table, as you mentioned, maybe defend the pass a little bit, come up in the box. He's not just stuck in one spot. And I like the fact that they can do that with him. And once again, a guy that was committed, a guy that was looking to go to Oklahoma at one point, certainly a guy that brings a lot of intrigue to the position and the defense. Certainly one of these intriguing guys in the recruiting class.